All right, good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for being with us today. I want to thank our media partners for taking time out of their schedules to attend this press event, and thank you to all the agencies that are represented here, from our sheriffs, our chiefs, our troopers, and I appreciate Director Poole coming in from Nashville to attend this press event with us as well. My name is Steve Dillard, and I am the law enforcement liaison for the East Tennessee region with the Governor's Highway Safety Office. Today, we are here to talk to you a little bit about the SAFE campaign. And this is a seatbelt enforcement campaign that we are conducting throughout the state of Tennessee. Every year, we try to come together, the GHSO and all the local agencies that we cover, to start coming up with some goals and objectives for what we want to try to see achieved in our region. The Knoxville region itself has been hit hard. We have had a lot of fatalities this year, and as of the fatality report today, we still have 35 lives that have been lost on our roadways with our 11 agencies in the county agencies here in East Tennessee in the Knoxville district. We know that one death is just one too many. And as I've looked back at a lot of the fatalities that we have investigated throughout our region, we see a lot of the same similar behavioral issues. We see that people are still not wearing seatbelts. People are still texting and driving on the roads. Impaired driving is continuing to occur. Speeding has been a contributing factor in several of the fatalities. But we're also seeing that human error is becoming a contributing factor as well. As we look at our enforcement goals with our partnering agencies, we hope that the very first thing we can do is change driver behavior. This is the most difficult thing to do when people in their mind have set what they're going to do. And when we look at our seatbelt rate in the state of Tennessee, we're very blessed that we're at 87.71%. But sadly, about 12% of our population continues to not to adhere to wearing a seatbelt. And the crashes that we've seen this year just thus far, we're seeing people ejected out of windshields. We're seeing people thrown out of cars when they're going into a row. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because we have to then, the officers have to go to those families and share with them that they've lost a loved one from an accident. So what we hope to do is, from this point on to the rest of the year, we're going to put a lot of emphasis on seatbelt usage. The agencies that are present here today have agreed to sort of ramp up their seatbelt enforcement within their communities and look at trying to not only use the enforcement side, but to also educate our drivers, because behavior is something that we feel like we really need to work on as well as our enforcement. This year alone, just in the state of Tennessee, we're at 157 deaths throughout the state of Tennessee. And we're currently 14 down for the year. That's good. But we know that we can still do better. We want to encourage our drivers simply to be aware of this. The agencies are going to be looking for you, those of you that are driving, that are not buckled up. When they see you not wearing your seatbelt, more than likely you're going to get pulled over. And then the officer will make whatever the appropriate decision is to deal with that violation that you have committed. This has nothing to do with wearing or with writing tickets and things such as this. This is trying to get people to take that 1 second change and put that seatbelt on. We know seatbelts save lives. We know that's the truth of it. But just too many people have chosen not to. This year we have 24 agencies that has taken on the initiative to be part of the SAFE campaign. For those of you that may not know what SAFE is, it is an acronym saying or meaning seatbelts are for everyone. So I appreciate the agencies that have committed to take this extra responsibility within their communities and area to try to see if we can change behavior through education and enforcement. I do want you, the media, to know who is participating. So very briefly, I want to give you the names of the agencies. Alcoa Police Department, Campbell County Sheriff's Office, Clinton PD, Gatlinburg PD, Harriman PD, Knoxville PD, La Follette PD, Loudoun County SO, Maryville PD, Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Morgan County Sheriff's Office, Norris PD, Oliver Springs PD, Pigeon Forge PD, Pittman Center PD, Roane County Sheriff's Office, Rockwood PD, Rocky Top PD, Sevier County Sheriff's Office, Sevierville PD, Sweetwater PD, the University of Tennessee PD, the Tennessee Highway Patrol District 1, and Wartburg. That gives us 24 agencies. There's a lot going to be happening as we start getting into the spring and summer weather throughout our cities. NHTSA will be doing in the entire month of April, National Distracted Driving Month. We know that texting and driving is becoming a problem, and too many lives are being lost because there's more attention to the telephone than there is to the vehicle that's in front of them. We also know that in May we'll have Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. We know the warm weather is going to get our motorcyclists out. And during this time, we're going to see a lot of people out enjoying the beautiful weather. One area that we have in East Tennessee that most everyone is familiar with is the Dragon. And the Dragon, being a fun place to ride their motorcycles, is also a dangerous place for those who drive recklessly or do not drive with care of others. So with these events coming up, we know that these are just certain things that we're preparing for. And also, in the month of May, we'll be preparing for the Click It or Ticket campaign. This campaign will run through from May the 11th to May the 25th. And all of our agencies throughout East Tennessee will be participating in this campaign. And they will also be working the roadways to try to keep our roads cleared of impaired drivers, make sure people are obeying the speed limits, looking at these texting and driving individuals and addressing it with them. And again, as I've stated earlier, we're looking at trying to put a lot of emphasis on seatbelt enforcement. So this is a little bit of a plan that we have in our region. Today I want to introduce to you all Director Kendall Poole. He's the Director of the Governor's Highway Safety Office, and I appreciate his time coming to East Tennessee. And I'll turn it over to him for opportunity to share some comments. Director.
Thank you. It's great to be here today. I want to give a big thanks to the University of Tennessee Police Department for allowing us to be here today. What Laura Seltz Center is beautiful, and we're fortunate to count UTPD as a partner, as well as all the agencies that are represented here in East Tennessee. We can't do in the Governor's Highway Safety Office what we are tasked with doing without great partnerships all across the state. And this is just one example today of the partnerships that make us effective. If you look back 10 years ago, we had 33%, 1/3 more fatalities than we do on our roadways in the state of Tennessee than we do today. So we're 1/3 better. 33% more people are able to go home because of the efforts of education, lose it, click it or ticket, enforcement, the SAFE campaign, our mobilizations, our checkpoints, everything that we do across the state. It's education and enforcement working together to ensure that we save lives. As Steve said, it's not about quotas, it's not about writing tickets, it's about saving lives. We know that 87.71% of Tennesseans are wearing their seatbelts. That means just a little over 12% don't wear their seatbelts. Those that do not wear their seatbelts primarily are in more rural areas. Folks in urban, for instance, in Knoxville and Knox County, they're more likely to be wearing their seatbelt than they would in other counties surrounding Knoxville. So that's the reason we try to involve everybody, because over half of our fatalities are unbelted. And you say, well, that doesn't make sense, and you've heard me say it before, and I'll say it again. That means that over half of our fatalities are coming from just a little over 12% of our population. So just think if we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more percentage points of folks to buckle up, how many more lives we would be able to save in the state of Tennessee. We're already setting records. Last year, in 2014, 967 people lost their lives, and that's way too many. 967 too many, to be frank about it. But we've come a long way. And too many of those, over half of those, were not wearing seatbelts. Now, they may be 2, 3, 4 time violators not wearing a seatbelt. They may be speeding. They may be impaired. But again, risky behavior is what we're trying to change, and it's a lot easier said than done. So we're going to continue to work through the education standpoint, through the enforcement standpoint, and we're going to continue to support programs like the SAFE campaign to ensure that communities are getting their message, both from media and also from enforcement, and being able to back that up. We've proven that that's a way that we have been able to change behavior, and we're going to continue to do that. You've heard the old adage, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Well, we've been successful, and we're going to continue to be successful, but we've still got room to improve, and we're going to do that. As Steve said, we're minus 14 as of this morning compared to this same time last year, and we went really low last year in March. We generally average 80 fatalities a month over the last 5 years for March. Last year we only had 63, and yet we're still 14 behind, so that means we're continuing to move in the right direction. We've got some months coming up that I know that we can do much better than we did last year. But don't forget, when we start talking about numbers, every number means a life. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So I want to thank all of our partners in the room. Thank you so much for participating. I know what you're going to do is going to make a difference. I want to give a special shout out to a great partner, Captain David McGill with the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Captain McGill is just announced his retirement. And I don't feel like we're going to lose a partner. I feel like we've gained a partner for life. And he's done some incredible work with the Tennessee Highway Patrol, and they've been unbelievable partners to the Governor's Highway Safety Office, and I know they will continue to be, but best wishes to Captain McGill and everything that he does. Thank you to the members of the media for being here today. Your dedication to helping us get this message out means the world, and that's a great way for us to get the message out and to save more lives in the state of Tennessee.
Thank you, Director. I also wanted to give a shout out to you, Captain McGill. Thank you for your service with us, and I'm excited for your retirement, and as I know you are, and thank you for all your help that you've given us here in East Tennessee. We do have a great partnership with the Tennessee Highway Patrol, and I appreciate Lieutenant Don Boshears being with us today, and I'd like to turn over the podium to him to share a few comments. Lieutenant.
Thank you, Steve. Well, on behalf of Captain McGill and the Knoxville District Tennessee Highway Patrol, we're proud to be a partner in this SAFE campaign, and we're proud to partner up with our local and city and county agencies to try to address this fatality problem that we're having. It's already been said, we've been hit hard, even hit hard a little bit last year as far as the district-wise go. But something that wasn't mentioned earlier, when you ask, why are these happening? Why are there so many now? Something that wasn't brought up, late last year and early this year, we've had not just a few, we've had many, 6, 7, 8 crashes where we've lost 2 and 3 people out of one crash. One fatality is bad enough, but we're losing 2 or 3 at a time. Why are they happening? It reverts back. If you look at the data, it's one of the, as mentioned earlier, it's one of 4 things. It's either speed or recklessness, distractions, impairment, of course, and seatbelt usage, which is why we're here today, is mainly seatbelt usage. One reason it's not happening is, we have to have enforcement and we have to have education. Just to give you some brief numbers, in 2014, the Knoxville District Troopers increased their speeding citations by 11% from 2013. Impaired driving, they made 38% more arrests in 2014 than we did in 2013. Seatbelt usage, we increased that by nearly 32%. So we're out here working. We're out here trying to enforce the laws. We're also out trying to educate people. I'm in the education department. And in 2014, my education department attended 347 events in this 11-county district. And these events are everything from county fairs to sporting events, middle schools, high schools, any type of event where there's a large group of people that we can talk about highway safety and talk about traffic safety, talk about seatbelt usage. We go. We come in contact with 79,000 people last year. Almost enough to fill this stadium. Kind of iconic that we're here. But point being, what are we going to do? Well, the Highway Patrol stance, we've been using crash, which is crash reduction through analyzing statistical history data for the last couple of years. And we're going to continue to do that. We feel it works. We've had crashes on roadways that's never showed up on a heat map before. Fatal crashes that doesn't even come up. But most of them are still occurring in the same places, the same roadways, the same highways, and we're going to keep enforcing all of our efforts, whether it's checkpoints, DL checkpoints, sobriety checkpoints, seatbelt saturations, they're all based on that. We also use predictive analytics, where we'll take, if we know there's going to be a large type event coming to the area, we can plug that into a formula that was designed by IBM, and it'll give a probability of a crash. You can factor in weather, things like that also. We're going to keep doing that. We're going to keep partnering with our local city and county agencies on special type of enforcement events, seatbelt blitzes, impaired driving checkpoints. We have to keep doing what we're doing. I think the numbers, if we keep doing what we're doing, they'll work out, I hope. We're just dedicated to addressing the problem, and we are going to address it, but we're just going to keep doing what we've been doing. We think it works. But there's something we do need some help, and we need some help from the public. If you're watching this today or you see this later on today, if you wear your seatbelt, you don't speed, you don't drive impaired, we applaud you. You're to be commended. Thank you. But if you have family members, relatives, friends, co-workers that engage in this type of behavior, talk to them. Stress to them how important it is to put that seatbelt on. You've already heard how easy it is. It only takes a second or two. And when you do that, you're automatically increasing your chances of surviving by over 50%. Help us, help you. We can get out and enforce the laws, and we can talk to people and educate people, but we need help. Maybe they'll listen to you more than they will us. Tell them how important their lives are and that you like to have them around. We're going to address the problem. We're dedicated to it. We have a great relationship with all the agencies here in this room, plus the ones that's not here today. We're offering our assistance in any way we can help. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. We have a great partnership with the Sevier County Sheriff's Office. And just recently, we worked with Sevier County as well as Knoxville PD, Knox County, Blount County, the Tennessee Highway Patrol, about a roadway that we've seen some real challenges with, and that's Chapman Highway. And you're going to probably see a lot more enforcement activities on this roadway from Knoxville to Sevierville. So we want you to be aware of that. But Lieutenant Gary Ken has been a strong partner for our office and has been strong with the goals that we've set with their agency. And I appreciate him being with us today, and I'd like to bring him to the podium now to share a few thoughts. Lieutenant Kent.
Thank you, Steve. I'd like to thank the media for being here, and for Director Poole and Steve Dillard and our partnership that we have with them that we started several years ago, and it has become a great partnership. And no finer folks would you work with, and they are dedicated than you would with the Government Highway Safety Office. And thank the officers here, the agencies that are here, for our partnership with you, especially our local agencies that we work with. I'd like to share a little bit of a personal story quickly. Back in the mid-'80s, before I got into law enforcement, I worked for a company in Knoxville, and I would drive from the upper end of Sevier County on a road called Jones Cove Road, which is curvy, and I would drive all the way to Knoxville, about 65, 70 miles one way. And they bought me a new car, 84 Volkswagen Quantum, loaded out, even had a cassette tape in it. And one morning I was on the way to work, and I was almost, this car was 5 weeks old, and I was almost to the end of Jones Cove Road, and I was putting in a cassette tape, and I didn't wear a seatbelt back then either, and I dropped the tape into the passenger side of the car. So I reached over to pick it up. Now that's not distracted driving, is it? I didn't know anything about distracted driving back then. And as I started to pick it up and reached over, I felt my right front wheel drop off into a ditch. And before I could correct, the car hit a culvert in a driveway, and I went airborne. When I landed, I got out, and I was fortunate. All I had was a minor scratch on my hand. $10,000 worth of damage to the car. But you know, I could have done a lot more damage. I could have hit somebody else. And that's what we're here about, is to educate people about seatbelt usage, about being distracted when you're driving. My question is this: what's the difference in me reaching over and picking up a cassette or getting my phone out to look at a text from my wife that says, "Will you be done by the time I go to lunch?" The average time it takes to send a text or to read a text is about 4 seconds. At 55 miles an hour, I read somewhere that that's like traveling an entire football field blindfolded. 3,000, there are 3,000 fatalities a year related to distracted driving. 330,000 injuries related to distracted driving. And when Steve said that we have an issue on Chapman Highway and we have an issue in other parts of Sevier County, we're going to address that. It's not about punishment, it's about education. And if the folks in the media gets this message out and it saves one life, that will be the best story they could ever write. Because this is what we're about. We're about saving lives and educating folks on their driving habits. Seatbelt usage. Now, I wear seatbelts now. When I went to the academy, if you didn't wear a seatbelt and you moved the car an inch, you had to do 50 push-ups. So that taught me to wear seatbelts. But buckle up, please. We want to see you make it home to your families. We want your families to have you come home to them. These guys in here in law enforcement, every one of these people in law enforcement, and these agencies with the Attorney General's office and SAD, they want to see you make it to your home and to your destination. Please buckle up. Please don't just drive distracted. I read an article where NHTSA said that texting and driving is 6 times more dangerous than impaired driving. Now, that's not advocating impaired driving, but if it's 6 times more dangerous than impaired driving, please pay attention to the roadway. That's all we ask. And we're going to be out there making sure that you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I do want to Also give a shout out and thank you for the University of Tennessee for allowing us to come to this location to do our press event. Lieutenant Mose with their department was instrumental in getting with the administration, and between him and Assistant Chief Severs was able to make this work. And I want to make sure that I let you know we appreciate you letting us come. By saying that, we have Assistant Chief Jeff Severs with us today with the University of Tennessee Police Department, and I will turn it over to him for a few comments.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for all coming out this afternoon. I hope everybody found us okay. We're kind of in the bowels of the stadium. Our police department, we're kind of unique in the sense that we work on a campus. We're in an urban area, a city within a city. North of us is Interstate 40. East of us is Chapman Highway, which we've already talked about. West of us is Alcoa Highway. And then we've got Neyland Drive also to the south. So we're surrounded by 4-lane roads. Whenever I started looking into crash data, I don't need to talk about seatbelts and how important it is to wear seatbelts. I think we all know that. 50% of all fatalities nationwide across our country, in 50% those people aren't wearing the restraints. So we know it's an issue. We know we should buckle up. A few things that really caught my attention, at least for my agency specifically, was the leading cause of death for teenagers is motor vehicle crashes. Our population, by and large, we have 26,000 students, graduate and undergraduate students. Any given day, we have 45 or 50,000 people that roll through our campus. That's students, faculty, staff, visitors. We have a lot of events that obviously go on our campus as well. But by and large, our community consists of 18 to 24-year-olds. 18 to 24-year-olds who at times do engage in risky behavior. We were all young once too. I think that's primarily, whenever I look at our focus, it's about education. It's about enforcement. It was mentioned earlier. It's not about how many tickets we write. Never about that. It's about trying to change behavior. I think that's particularly critical for us because we have the ability to impact a community that is young, getting wiser as they grow, and I think that's our job. I'm really encouraged to see all the agencies who are here today. Our responsibility as law enforcement agencies, whether we work at a campus, a municipal police department, sheriff's department, is to keep our community safe. I think that's what the goal of this campaign is. Seatbelts really are for everyone, whether you're 16 and you're just starting driving. I've got a 15-year-old son that's chomping at the bit to start driving in 6 months. Scares the life out of me, but he's ready to go. It's about educating whether they're 16 or whether they're 65. That's our job. That's what we should do, and I think that's what this campaign focuses on. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Also want to let the media be aware, when you came in, you've seen a trailer sitting out in front of the stadium, in front of Gate 21. Julie Strike, who is the state coordinator for the SAD program, was able to develop this trailer. It's a very interactive trailer that she's scheduling now with agencies and communities, and I hope that each of you might take a moment to speak with her about it. Julie, if you just raise your hand, man. We appreciate the partnership with Julie and with SAD, and we look for the continued efforts that we put together as agencies to help our folks out here on the road. And Chief Morgan with Oliver Springs was kind enough to bring the safe vehicle from last year. They were the recipient of it, and thank you, Chief, for taking time to bring it out here as well. And our final speaker today, I had the privilege to meet Chief Danny Wright toward the end of last year at a sobriety checkpoint. And the Rockwood Police Department has really come in and really stepped up their efforts as a community to try to deal with some of the issues they're seeing on some of the areas that we've talked about. And I appreciate the leadership that Chief Wright is directing his department toward, and I appreciate him being with us, and I'll turn it over and let him share a few comments. Chief.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I think I can speak for many of the smaller agencies that are similar to Rockwood in size in being able to, that we're glad that we can participate with the larger organizations and the GHSO in trying to reduce fatalities and increased seatbelt usage. If you examine or do any research, you'll find that the leading cause nationwide of injuries and deaths are from vehicular-related accidents. We can reduce those deaths and reduce the magnitude of the injuries by increasing the seatbelt usage. My background is as a trooper. So as the old saying, you can take the boy out of the trooper, or the trooper out of the boy out of the trooper, but you can't take the trooper out of the boy. I'll get it right. So for me, it drives home because over the years I've worked many fatalities, and there's nothing that any one of these officers here today hate to do anymore than make a death notification. And we can reduce that part of our job and reduce the grief that families incur as a result of failure to use seatbelts. Probably most of the officers here, or I know several, and I'm one of them, can probably stand up and give a testimony to how seatbelts have kept them alive or saved them from serious injury in automobile accidents with the miles that we drive each year. Rockwood, we're a little below average. Statewide, we're at about 76% of seatbelt usage on our last monitoring, but we have stepped up our enforcement and intend to, because it's one thing that we can do. A lot of times, in particularly the small rural towns, what happens is you have someone get in their car, they're only going 2 or 3 miles to run an errand to the post office, to the shopping center that's local, and it's just, well, I'm not going to buckle up then. Trust me, those accidents happen within that same area. So speaking for Rockwood Police Department and for the agencies that are here that are our size, we intend to step up our enforcement and try to make a difference in what happens in Tennessee and what happens in our community. It's our job for every one of us here, regardless of the agency you represent, to protect and serve. And we're going to protect and try to change the behavior, do some behavior modification, as it's been mentioned here, by enforcing the seatbelt laws, and hopefully we can help to continue to reduce the fatality rate in Tennessee. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief, very much. All right, so we have given the public our goals and objectives, and we hope that you will adhere to what we're asking you to do, to be a safer driver, to be a prepared driver. Watch out for those distractions. Please don't text and drive. Keep your phones away from that steering wheel while you're driving down the road. Wear your seat belts. If you're going to drink and drive, bring somebody or have somebody pick you up. Don't you take the opportunity to get in that car. And finally, speeding, guys. Speeding kills, and we've got to slow down out here on the roads. Our speakers will stay by in case the media would like to talk with any of them. Director Poole, thank you again for coming in, and appreciate you being here. At this time, the media event is concluded.